started then. And I'd like to say hello to everybody who's joining us tonight. My name is Julie Seidel. I'm an interpreter one here in the Santa Cruz district on behalf of California State Parks. We are so glad to have you all at our Docent Discovery Series. And this is the second season that we've been providing enrichments for volunteers and staff of the district. And this is a great way to just raise our engagement and our knowledge. And even if the subject matter isn't specific to your park, it's a way to know about all the resources and things that are going on throughout the Santa Cruz district and become a smarter and better rounded volunteer group. And we have some staff who are joining us as well, and some friends of our district are here tonight too. For tonight, you can use the chat to check in with each other. And we also have the question and answer, the Q&A button. So please think up some good questions for our wonderful speakers tonight. And we can answer some of them online, and then there will be time at the end as well for questions and answers for our speakers. Ashley is going to tell us more about our speakers and the topic for tonight. So I'll hand it on over to you. Take it away, Ashley.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ashley Wemp, and I'm the interpreter one at Sea Cliff State Beach. And thank you all for joining us tonight. It is my honor to introduce our two speakers tonight, Beth Redmond-Jones and George Matsumoto. And I'm going to give a brief introduction of both of these speakers. So Beth Redmond-Jones is an accomplished and award-winning museum professional with a wide range of management, leadership, design, and hands-on project experience. As the Vice President of Expeditions and Facilities at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, she oversees all aspects of the aquarium's exhibitions, including exhibit content and design, project management, and interpretive media, as well as the care and maintenance of the aquarium facility. Beth works with teams to create exhibitions that engage and connect visitors to the natural world and inspire them to take the next step to conserve and protect it. And George Matsumoto is a senior education and research specialist at MBARI, or Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, where he has been for the past 25 years. Prior to that, he was a marine biology faculty at Flinders University of South Australia and a postdoctoral fellow at Hopkins Marine Station. George was awarded the Quick Science Ocean Leadership Award for commitment to ocean education and nominated and recognized as an ASLO Fellow. He has served on several local, regional, and national boards, including the National Marine Educators Association Board and the National Ocean Studies Board. He has also been part of several National Academy Committee reports and helped coordinate the 15th Deep Sea Biology Symposium here in Monterey in 2018. At MBARI, he coordinates the seminar and internship program, as well as the NSF-funded Adopt a Float program. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to George.
Great. Thank you so much, Ashley and Julie, for inviting us to come speak with you. I was thinking, maybe I could have 40 minutes and I could just talk about MBARI, but this is going to be much more fun because we're going to bring a little something to you that you're going to get to see with your own eyes in a couple of months, and it's going to be amazing. But I am going to spend a few minutes talking to you about MBARI. This is where we're located on Moss Landing. Many of you have probably driven by us once or twice in your lifetime, and we're right on the beach of Moss Landing, halfway between Santa Cruz and Monterey. The institution is located on the unceded land of the Huennerin and Guacharon peoples. This area was home to a settlement called La Cuesta in the region of Calendaruk, which means ocean home place. The native peoples of this area were taken to Mission San Juan Bautista and Mission San Carlos Borromeo de Carmelo. And the native people taken to Mission San Juan Bautista are represented today by the Alma Mutsun tribal band. And we were fortunate to be able to work in partnership with the Alma Mutsun Land Trust to develop this land acknowledgement statement. The easiest way to tell you about MBARI is to play this short 5-minute video that's narrated by our president and Chief Executive Officer, Chris Sholin. And so I'm just going to let this play. And I'm actually going to stop sharing, start sharing again, because I forgot to share sound. So give me a second. It's that little tiny box in the bottom of the screen. I always forget to check. Okay. Here we go.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1,200 meters.
Everything in the ocean has a story to tell. It's huge, it's dark, it's cold. How do you access this space? Simply by having a presence, you see things that no one has ever seen before. You discover animals that are completely new to science, or phenomenon that no one knew was occurring.
You periodically come across something that is so magnificent that you didn't expect to see, and it's just breathtaking.
Tomorrow the winds will blow, they'll pump nutrients to the surface, and everything about the system will change. Where things are, who's there, how fast they're growing.
We're in a position to be able to share our discoveries and our love of the ocean in ways that were never possible before.
There are no departments of chemistry or biology or engineering for that matter. We are all mixed together, and that's very unique.
Each side can inspire the other to ask challenging questions and come up with innovative answers.
A scientist will know what they're looking for, but the engineer can illustrate the possibilities beyond what the scientist first imagined.
And that's the trick, is understanding those differences in language and how we put them together in order to realize the kind of device that we're trying to build. We marry that science and engineering partnership with our marine operations personnel. And the only way to make all that work is to have a group of dedicated professionals to operate the vessels, to operate the equipment, to recover it. It's really that three-legged stool, science, engineering, operations, that allow us to do the things that we do and work as a team. Oceanography is a contact sport. We have to not only immerse ourselves in that realm, but we also have to acquire material. We have to manipulate that material.
MBARI's here in Moss Landing because of the access to deep water that we can get to so quickly.
If we were to drain Monterey Bay, you would see a canyon equivalent size to the Grand Canyon.
So we get these deep, cold, nutrient-rich waters fertilizing the upper ocean. It gives us an incredible opportunity to understand that connection of the deep sea to our coastlines where most of our fisheries come from.
One of MBARI's guiding principles is to make our measurements in the natural habitat rather than hauling the animals out and studying them in our world.
It's important that discoveries we make have an impact and tackle problems like climate change, like ocean acidification, and exporting that knowledge, making it available to the whole world. One of the really unique things about MBARI is our partnership with the Monterey Bay Aquarium. We have the opportunity to bring fundamental science and technology and marry that with their amazing global reach that communicates important issues about the ocean to the public, to policymakers. We really want to be transformational as opposed to just incremental in the work we do.
Oceanography is in the middle of a robot revolution with platforms that can take us to places we couldn't be, at times we couldn't be there. It's really a fundamental shift in how we think about things.
We have new ways of assessing fisheries, better ways of managing precious resources. We're sitting on this mountain of highly curated information here that was being mined to extract quantitative information like who's there, how many, how do they relate to changes in the environment and so forth.
And that gives us an incredible ability to think about these things at a grand scale and to make those connections that are really challenging, but that's what we need to do.
Just by studying anything in the ocean, you are studying climate change.
The ocean is absorbing a tremendous amount of carbon dioxide and absorbing a lot of the heat that's being produced. And the question is, what does that mean for the ocean? What does it mean for the life that depends on the ocean? And what are the consequences in the future?
How changes at one step have implications through the entire ocean food web and atoms to ecosystems and all the way up to humans on Earth.
I don't know anywhere in the world where you have this confluence of the place of Monterey Bay, the opportunity of science-engineering partnership, and the charge to do something that's high risk, long duration, unknown outcomes, and at the end of that, the expectation that you will just share it with everyone. You will essentially give it away.
Every time we answer a question, we have 20 new ones. Often we think we know what's happening, and then the biology surprises us.
It's really amazing how much MBARI has been able to be the ambassador for the open ocean and the deep sea.
That's why MBARI is here. We're supposed to do things that might not be possible by any other approach. I don't imagine there's another place quite like it.
So that's a quick little overview of MBARI, and I think it gives a good glimpse of what MBARI as an institution does and why we value the aquarium partnership so much, because together, I think the two institutions are unsurpassed in the world. The deep sea has always held a fascination for people and the ocean in general. And these are some gorgeous illustrations by Elsie Bostelman back in the 1930s when she was documenting an expedition down half a mile down into the water off the coast of Bermuda as part of a National Geographic expedition. And these images are hard to bring back to the public. We've been working with the aquarium on a couple of other ways to do this. This might be using virtual reality goggles. And this is on the right-hand picture. You could see some teachers in the Bechtel the Bechtel Education Center at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And on the left side, you could see a virtual remotely operated vehicle interface that we worked on with Olin College during the pandemic, where students from Olin College back east were actually flying the remotely operated vehicle here in the Pacific Ocean. But this collaborative effort between the aquarium and MBARI is just an amazing story. And it gives us such great pleasure to be able to bring some of what we've been able to see and experience over the last 30 years to the general public. It also gives me a great chance to go to some cool places and do some amazing things that I might not have otherwise gotten to do. And this is a photograph taken during Blackwater Collections in Kona, Hawaii in September of last year. And Blackwater Collections is kind of an interesting concept. It means you're essentially scuba diving at night over deep water where you don't know, where the bottom may be 5,000 feet down. And the reason we're doing this is because deep sea animals every night come up to the surface to feed. And they could feed at night because the predators can't see them because it's dark. And this whole process is called diurnal vertical migration. And scientists have been studying this for years. But using Blackwater diving, we could actually get down into the water when the animals are up at the surface and not only observe them, but also collect them and bring them back for the exhibit, the exhibition at the aquarium. As part of the exhibition, the aquarium has been trying to show a little more about the people who work at MBARI. And when you see the photographs on display at the aquarium, they're going to be gorgeous. I mean, they really look beautiful. The one on the left is a great example of Alana Sherman, one of our engineers. But what you don't realize is all the work that goes into even just something as simple as a photograph. And in the upper right corner, you could see the lighting and the photographers all getting ready to take that perfect image of Alana hard at work on some engineering project. And what Beth is going to do is give you a brief glimpse at the upcoming exhibition that's going to be opening in April. And Beth, as you heard, is an accomplished and award-winning museum professional. She's worked at museums that I'm sure you've visited, like the San Diego Natural History Museum, the Aquarium of the Pacific, the Exploratorium. She's consulted with the Carnegie Museum of Natural History, the National Aquarium, Cal Academy of Sciences, and many other museums. And the number of awards she's won is too many to list. But I'm going to let her talk to you now a little bit about the upcoming exhibition.
Thank you, George and Julie and Ashley. Thanks for inviting us tonight. This is very exciting. I am going to share my screen here. I need you to make me a host again. Julie, if you don't mind.
Will do.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on.
Well, while we're waiting, behind me is a bloody belly comb jelly, one of the beautiful photographs that we have. And this is one of the beautiful species that you will see in the exhibition. All right, let me
You're
share.
good to go, Beth.
Okay, let me go to play from start. Okay, so I'm Beth Redmond-Jones. As you know, I'm the Vice President of Exhibitions and Facilities at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. My pronouns are she, her. And I am so excited to share this with you. I have to say that the team that is creating this is probably 150 plus individuals between Monterey, our animal care team, our facilities team, guest experience, exhibitions, education, marketing, development. This definitely has taken a village to make this happen. This project has been in the works for over 7 or 8 years. If I'm incorrect on that, they'll let me know. He says I'm good to go. So this is a lot of R&D on our animal care team, working with Monterey, figuring out how to keep these animals alive, how to cultivate them. So I'm going to give you just a very quick sneak peek, and this is more of like a prototype sneak peek, because right now everything in the aquarium around this exhibition is embargoed, which means we can't show anything actually installed or anything until I think it is either March 24th or 27th, somewhere around there. So you are seeing something that most people can't see right now. So if you have been to the aquarium prior to COVID, you would see here on the left side where our Baja exhibition was. And then there is the entrance to the fragile seas. And then over here on the right is our tentacles exhibition. So everything to the left of tentacles has been taken for the deep sea exhibition, which is about 10,000 square feet of exhibit space. This is what it looks like right now. In about a week, this part of the wall is going to come down. And then in about 3 weeks, this section of the wall will come down, but this will all be curtained off and you will not be able to see it until we open on April 9th. To give you a lay of the land, I guess is the best way to say here, or of the deep. Here is the floor plan of the exhibition. We have our entry area. We have what we're calling the down to the deep area. If you know our open sea tank, this is the lower level. This is the viewing window into that really large tank. After down to the deep, we have our midwater gallery, which are these two purple areas. We have the seafloor, which is the green, and then we have this blue area, which is our beyond the horizon. So the exhibition is split into 5 different sections. When we're creating an exhibition, we create what we call a big idea. So it's one sentence statement that defines what the exhibition is about. It also helps us to tease out what shouldn't be in there. So for this exhibition, the deep sea is a mysterious environment that teems with life and needs our protection. For then each area, we create specific messages that support that big idea. And so for our entry, the title or the main message is that the exhibition is about the deep sea. So when you walk in, you'll see we're creating all the exhibition bilingually, so English, Spanish. Since I came on almost 3 years ago, this is the way that we will be approaching all of our exhibitions moving forward. Will be bilingual, English, Spanish. And so I'm going to just show you a video of what the letters look like. So Into the Deep and Profundo are these raised acrylic letters, and we have video monitors behind them with deep sea creatures that kind of move in and out and around. This is my favorite guy. Our film and video team actually took this one out, and I made them put it back in because it's my favorite. And so you see the marine snow coming down, and then you see animals coming in and out. So it's just something very dynamic and interesting and a little bit different than just a plain title silk screened on the wall. Oops. Sorry. So that is as you move down here. Then as you get down to this area, we're in this down to the deep area. So our main message here is it's a vast, mysterious world that lies beneath the ocean surface. And this oval right here is the first area that I'm going to talk about. And this is our Meet Minbari area. So here on the left, you have the view window into our large open sea tank where we have our mola mola, we have our tuna and the bonito and our sea turtles that are swimming along here and there. But this is where you're first introduced to Minbari. So right here at the very front, there is a beautiful topographic model that shows the deep sea canyon right off Moss Landing and right in Monterey Bay. So what we've done is that here is Santa Cruz, here is Moss Landing where Minbari is based, and then here is Monterey where the aquarium is based. And you can get an understanding for how deep it is here within the bay. And then we have graphics which also shows that further out here, which is off the PowerPoint, is where actually the deepest part is, which is about 2 miles. In the back wall here, we have a video running of showing different scenes of Minbari's work, from in the laboratory to out on ship to deploying an ROV. So you get an idea of the flavor of their work that they do. Then here on the right side, we call this the Meet Minbari, and these are spinners. So if you think of panels that flip back and forth, one side will have a photograph of one of our staff members, and you saw the photo that George showed earlier of Alana. And then on the back is a quote from them about why they do what they do and what has inspired them. And this component is actually one of my favorites, for it shows the diversity of the organization, and it really starts aligning with STEAM, that it is science, it's technology, it's engineering, it's art, and it's mathematics. And it takes these variety of disciplines and minds and to create this amazing research organization that we have the luxury of collaborating with and working with. Here's an example of an early prototype on the left of what that layout might look like. It looks very different now, but this is why we do prototypes. And then here are some of the directors, my directors that we were working with. We had 4 different versions of what these spinning panels might look like. And one of the things that we do a lot of is called prototyping. So we look at what is the exhibit that we want to create? What's this interactive? How do we do it? So, this one moved, all of these moved, I don't know, how would you say that? Towards you, like up and down kind of thing, and not spinning around. And these weren't working. We realized that if you if you moved both of these panels right here, top and bottom, so they were horizontal, a person could actually stick their head in there and get stuck. So that's a danger issue. So we were kind of working through it all. And then I was like, this just isn't working. And so I took the whole unit and I flipped it up. I moved it one direction. And so they were going this way. And we decided to put posts between them so we wouldn't have any of the issues. But these are a lot of things we figure out where people are going to get their head stuck, the kid getting their head stuck. It happens all the time. fingers pinched, that type of thing. So this is just part of our process of doing lots of iteration to figure out how to make an exhibit effective and safe for our visitors. Here is an image of the model, of the topo model as it was in production. This was created by an organization up in Minnesota called Blue Rhino. They did all of our models, both large like this topo map, as well as our smaller models and all the rock work that you'll see later. As you move out of the Meet Minbari area, you move into this circular gallery, and here we will have video projections on both the left-hand wall and the right-hand wall, and there will be two turning drums. That this is an introduction, a beautiful, I just saw it in place yesterday in the gallery, video of different deep sea animals. And this was our opportunity to show footage that Minbari has collected, as well as from other places, of animals that we can't necessarily keep, because either, some of the siphonophores are, 30, 40, 50 feet long. We can't keep an animal like that in the exhibition. So it's an opportunity for us to show the variety and the diversity of animals in the deep sea. So here's just some of the examples of some of the imagery that we're going to be showing. We have created a kind of a poem of sorts that moves with the video as it is projected, that is about curious creatures thrive, living under cold temperatures, living under pressure. So it gives you a gist and understanding at a very high level for what it's like to live in the deep sea. So that was those two kind of teal colored areas. Now we're going to move into these two purple areas. We're first going to talk about this long one right here, which is the midwater. And as you walk in, there will be tanks all around you. We're also here on the right-hand side. We have these discovery stations, and our main message in this area is that Minbari and the aquarium have made amazing discoveries in the midwater. And one of the things I tasked with the team was, if you think about a Venn diagram, is that we have all of these amazing live animals. We have conservation messages that we want to get across, and we also have the science that Minbari is doing. So one of the things that I've tasked our team with as we were developing this is to at least get two of these circles to intersect. If they're going to talk about live animals, also talk about the science. Or if they're going to talk about live animal, talk about the conservation, or conservation and science together. But I was really hoping is that they would meet this little center area that I like to call the sweet spot, where we're getting all three of those things to come together at one time. So here is an example of the barrel eye. We've only seen, I don't even know, George, you're gonna have to say how many times you've seen a barrel eye in Monterey Bay? Twice, maybe?
I think we're up to 6 now. but
We're up to
not
6 now.
After 30 plus years, that's not very many.
That's not very many, and not an animal that we will have on display, but we do have amazing video footage that we've captured from Minbari and from the ROV. Here we're looking at one of the interesting things about the barrel eye is that its eyes move. If they're in a forward position, they can move up and they can move down. So we have an interactive that shows how those eyes can move, and then interpretation to go with it. So this was a prototype where the team was looking at how all those pieces come together and whether they work together or not. Also in the midwater, our big conservation focus is around plastics and microplastics. And that is our big conservation story there. So we've created the midwater survival game, AKA Underwater Pac-Man. And you pick an animal at one of 4 stations and you move up within the water column to eat the marine snow that's coming down. At the same time, there is a school of fish coming towards you. And there's also a siphonophore that kind of floats in and out and around and can slow you down as you're trying to gather food. But as you can see here in this photo, as they're eating marine snow, you may see that you may have eaten some shark poop, or you may have eaten a piece of plastic bottle, and it keeps score for you. And it's a way to start talking about that animals see marine snow as the same thing. Is our assumption is they see it as the same thing, that they cannot differentiate between what is plastic and what is food, but they're eating both. And so it's a way to start emphasizing that. And we did some evaluation with aquarium staff kids. We invited them all to come in, and even our youngest visitor, who was 5, he totally got the message of this and was like saying to his mom, how are we going to change this? So it was really great to see that this has a huge impact and the message is really clear. The other part of our experience is what we're calling our bioluminescence experience. So when you saw the floor plan, there was a little circle off to the right, and this is an immersive space that you can step out of the main pathway into. And these images are from one of the scientists at Monterey, as well as our film and video team, who have worked to figure out how to capture the bioluminescence of many jellies that live in the deep sea. So it's quite stunning, to say the least. And yeah, I don't know what else to say other than it is absolutely amazing. I can't wait for you guys to see it. So some of the animals that will be in this area are the bloody belly comb jelly, the scallop comb jelly, the snow globe jelly, and the wigroid jelly. I think the biggest challenge for for the exhibitions team and working with the animal care team and working with Monterey is that from day to day, we don't necessarily know what we're going to have. So our team may be going out with Monterey on a collecting trip, and they come back and we may have to change all the interpretation for every single tank. So at any point in time, we could have about 40 exhibit labels up, and we have written and produced 258. So we are prepared for whatever they bring in, and hopefully, who knows, though, they might find something that we have no idea what it is, which is also a very exciting thing, because we have a tank that is our mystery tank. So species that have not been identified or have not been named yet, we have a tank that those species can be in, and we have interpretation about that this is unknown to science. And our team and Monterey are working together to figure that out. Right now, we have in there the X jelly. Is that the right name? Yes, George is nodding. Thank you. I don't know if you want to say anything about that species, George.
Got to get over to the mute button. Yeah, the red X, we call it, because it's a red jelly it looks like it has a white X. And it's a species that Steve Haddock's Midwater team is currently working on describing. But it's an amazing creature because it's found worldwide, and yet nobody's ever described it. So it's really a beautiful, beautiful animal.
So this is really exciting for us because everything's going to be changing all the time. So you may come on one week and the next week it could be completely different. So one of the other things I wanted to share about this exhibition is this is the most complicated exhibition that the aquarium has ever mounted before. It is also, this is a first of a kind nationally. Well, at least within North America. Japan has done some deep sea exhibitions, but I don't know if their life support systems are as in depth as ours. On the left-hand side here, you can see our life support area. This is a low oxygen. Some of our tanks are set up for low oxygen species. And I'm not even going to attempt to describe this because I am not a water person and it is more than what I'm capable of doing. But on the right side here, the other thing that we've had to do is we've had to chill all of our water. I don't know how many of you know that we pull our water for the aquarium right from Monterey Bay. And so we have 5 chillers that are set up. 3 of them will be running at any one time. We have 2 for redundancy in case one goes down. So we want to be sure that we're always providing the coldest water that the species need when they're on exhibit. I'm now going to take you through the seafloor. We'll start right here in this round area. And the main message for the seafloor is that the seafloor is a vast muddy expanse studded with unique communities of life. This exhibit, I'm actually going to back up one time. This has tanks on two sides of this gallery. So there's here we have local species to Monterey Bay. And then on this side are worldwide deep sea species that you might find in other locations. Then here at the end, we have the diorama, which is what you see right here. And the focus of this diorama is, like we talked about discoveries in the midwater, we also really wanted to focus on the discoveries that have been made on the seafloor here by the Minbari team and the aquarium team. So we've created beautiful models that sit here on a sandy seafloor. And on the back, we have, this is not accurate to where we are now with the evolution of this piece, but this is a moving video that happens in the back. We have ROVs that come down. We have a benthic rover that's moving back and forth across the back. We have this triangular structure, I don't know how else to describe it, that takes time-lapse video photographs on the seafloor. So there's a variety of technology as well as a few animals that swim in and out. Here's what this was the day we installed all of this. So we have some of these animals. We have sea pens here. We've worked out how to show the bioluminescence of sea pens, and it's going to be very dynamic and this one is like really coming together right now. So it changes literally day to day as the coding for the back changes. But here's some of the beautiful models that you can see, these and some of the bioluminescence that we have. These again were made by Blue Rhino in Minnesota. And whoever doesn't think that this is the cutest octopus ever, I'm sorry, but it's just, I think I'm tempted to actually ask them to make me one just for my coffee table because I think that's so cute. Some of the species that we'll have in this area, the glowing sea cucumber, the predatory tunicates, these are in right now and they are stunning. The pom-pom anemones are also in, and then we have the Japanese carrier crabs. We then move into the seamounts. These are underwater mountains that support lots of animals, including ancient corals. And that one of the things we really want to get across is that our actions affect the seamounts and the animals that live there. So this tank has maybe 50% of what you see in this image right now, and it is absolutely stunning. George and our team just got back from a big collecting trip yesterday from the Western Flyer. They were out for the last 5 days. Bubblegum coral, which is back here, there's literally a piece that is, I don't know, 2.5 feet in diameter. It's just absolutely stunning. Just to kind of give you an idea of kind of a sneak peek of like how we do this, this was a scaled maquette that we did to, one of the things I really wanted to be sure is that the rock work that we were doing on the outside of the exhibit blended with the rock work on the inside of the tank. One of the things we're really uber focused on aesthetics and being sure that everything really blends together and looks realistic. So this was a really fun project to kind of look at how do we do this and shaping the clay and making it actually work. We started initially with using SketchUp and creating the design that way. And then we moved to, based on that, we created this clay maquette. And then here's some of the rock work with the octopus garden that's in Monterey Bay that we created that's part of this rock work in this area. Some of the species that you'll see on this seafloor area is the club-tip anemone, the shaggy bamboo coral, the feather star, and then the long-spined thorny head. We also really want to talk about hydrothermal vents, and these are hydrothermal vents use hot water and chemicals that support an astonishing community of life. This is kind of a mini diorama with rock work around. We have species of squat lobsters and vent crabs and this beautiful film footage that we have from Minbari, from the Alicon vents in Gulf of California and Orcia Cortez, whichever way you say it. So this is a kind of a combination of, again, of video and diorama to create what, because we can't take you there. We're trying to do it the best we can. So this was it during in the shop up in Minnesota when I went up. You can see here some of the different clams and the eel pouts back here. We were setting all of those and making it all work. Here it is actually being installed, which also brings up whole new challenges that you don't necessarily think of, and having to change rock work because of the way the film is being projected, and things casting shadows that we hadn't planned on. So a lot of work actually happened on site after we got it in place. Then we move to our whale fall. So after a whale dies, the body sinks to the seafloor and feeds a variety of food of animals. This is kind of like the buffet for the deep sea. We have worked with a company in Canada who has a juvenile sperm whale. We created a mold, they created a mold of that and created a model of a juvenile sperm whale for us. So we have the skull here, ribs, the vertebrae. So it starts here on the right-hand side, and the vertebrae kind of comes around, and then it breaks the plane. We're kind of playing with it, breaking the plane of the glass and coming out here into the public space where we have a Japanese spider crab model. But in here, we will have Japanese spider crabs. So we have a very large one whose legs probably reach about 10 feet across. And then we have two smaller medium ones that are about 6 feet across. And then we have a teeny tiny baby one that's growing very quickly. But these will be some of the animals that are in that area, in addition to the spotted ratfish, the Japanese armorhead, as well as a deep sea sunstar. And I believe I heard today that we actually have 2 ghost sharks that are also going to be in there. So that's very exciting as well. After you leave the whale fall area, we have an isopod touch station. We are Monterey Bay Aquarium. We have to have touch experiences wherever we can. So here on the right, we'll have giant isopods. If you've never seen an isopod, it is here on the left. Imagine the undersea version of the roly-poly, about the size of a football. So they are really, I think they're amazing. I think they're kind of cute too. A lot of people don't, but so we'll have a tank of them here, a touch area here, and then we have, this is our bone worms area. And this is really, the Osidax is a bone worm that's been described and also being cultivated by our aquarists here at the aquarium. The last section is on the horizon, and our main message here is that a universe of discovery still waits for us in the deep sea. On the left-hand side here, we have questions that are being asked by Mabari scientists and our aquarists about the deep sea. It is one of the least explored places on the planet. We know more about outer space than we do the deep sea. So these are questions in English and Spanish that pulse on and off, just to give visitors an understanding of the questions that we're still asking and that we're still trying to find answers to. And then on the right-hand side, the challenge of every science exhibition is always looking at how do you keep it up to date? How do you make it current? And thanks to some really creative guys on my team who are great coders, and Mambari having an awesome Instagram feed, we have created these towers. And so these will all be Instagram feeds from Mambari it will just keep rotating, and you can press on it, see when it was posted, learn about what it was. You can hit a button to change it to Spanish if you're a Spanish speaker. So it's a way that Mambari posts anywhere from 1 to 3 updates a day on Mambari about the deep sea. And that will be coming right to our visitors in the gallery. Just kind of a high level thing. One of the things that we look at, this is called a heat map, that we look at, where are we talking about conservation messages, which are these blue dots, and what are those messages? So here we have fishing and sustainable seafood, we have plastics, exploration of deep sea resources, and here talking about the future of the deep sea, areas that there are call to actions for visitors, as well as where are we talking about Monterey throughout the exhibition. And as you can see, Monterey is throughout the exhibition because they are an integral partner in this, and we couldn't be doing this exhibition without them. So this is, I like to think of a symbiotic relationship because we need each other to do this work. The other thing that I don't know how many people actually realize this, but one of the, what would you call it? One of the features of an aquarium exhibit is that we have a soundtrack. They are unique. We create each soundtrack for the exhibition, and this isn't where we're having different zones of sound. So you will hear it is a beautiful composition from beginning to end that takes you on it gets darker and deeper and more resonance as you move through the exhibition, and then moving out to sounds of hope and encouragement as we move forward. An example of some of the graphics, we're really looking at how we look at negative space, because that is a big part of the deep. Everything being bilingual, having consistency, and really using these amazing images that we have from both Monterey and our own staff to capture what some of these animals look like that may be teeny tiny, that you may not be able to see as clearly as you would like. There's an example of another label, and that is it. April 9th, 46 days and counting, but who's counting besides me and the rest of my team? And I will stop sharing my screen.
Well, thank you so much, Beth and George. That's just an amazing walk through the exhibit, and what a special, special opportunity to be behind the scenes with you guys in the aquarium and in MBARI as well. Let's see, we have a few questions. Ashley, were you catching some of those?
Let's see. Unmute first, that'll help. There was a question that was answered in the chat, but I'll ask it again. How do you keep these deep sea animals alive?
A lot of R&D. Our team's been working on this for 7 years or so. That our animal care staff started working on working with these animals long before we even started developing the exhibition. So they are an amazing, amazing group of individuals who have figured it out. Most of the animals that we are displaying do not seem to be impacted by the change in pressure from the seafloor or the midwater to the surface. So animals that are impacted by that pressure change, we are not displaying at all, because we do not want to cause any harm or stress to any of the animals. So that is a big criteria for us, which eliminates many animals because they cannot adapt to that pressure change. But we have addressed the issue of the water temperature and low oxygen systems for those species that do need them, like I feel so bad because I am not a scientist. I'm a creative type. And then I thank goodness that I've got George on the same call. The basket stars that have the twirly arms, those are low oxygen, I know, but I can't remember what they're called.
Basket stars. That's exactly
Basket
right.
stars. Thank you.
Yeah. Gorgonocephalus, if you want the scientific name.
Because I wouldn't be able to produce that. So yes,
Yeah.
I'm glad you can.
The Gorgon head, right? With all the little Medusa snakes.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, they're beautiful.
If you have questions, you can throw them into the chat. You can put them in the Q&A, or you can raise your hand, and I think you can ask them out loud as well. I was wondering, maybe this is like a staff question, but I was really surprised by the sense of a trial and error that you go through in developing the exhibit and setting it up and then moving it around. And so do you budget in for, reworking things, for changes, for starting all over again on some of the exhibits?
Yes, and yes. And we've even saved out budget. So we're going to be doing a summative evaluation of the exhibition and be changing some things even after we build it and get it in place. Obviously, we cannot change things like life support systems very well. That was scientifically designed, and that's a huge thing. But on the dry side, the visitor side of the experience, we can change things. Today, we realized that one of our graphic frames is not going to work for multiple species, and we're not quite sure how to create it. So we are prototyping that right now. It will open the way we have it, but about a month from then, we will be putting in this new thing. So we are constantly iterating. My apologies, my kids are calling me that are not at home. Yeah, just always trying to change and make things better. So
it seems like a really organic process. I was drawn to that that aspect of the process.
Yes, it definitely is. It's a whole thing. I mean, it starts even with writing labels. I mean, we write them, we print them out on 11 by 17 white paper and put them up on the wall, because reading them on a computer screen versus reading them on 11, an 8.5 by 11 in front of you versus at full size up on the wall, you start seeing things. It's like, oh, I said the same word 3 times. And so it is definitely an iterative process and sorting through it all. But I love that. It's messy, and a lot of people don't, but that's a fun part.
You can also follow some Q&A that's going on in the chat. And I don't know if anybody has other questions that they would like to ask in person. You have a raised hand there that I think you can use to indicate that you'd love to do that.
I just see a question here in the Q&A from Glenn about, will some of the pressure sensitive deep sea creatures be represented through pictures or models? Yes. Many of them you will be able to see them in the videos that we have that show different animals, especially that intro video where you have video on both sides of you in that introduction to the deep sea.
And we have somebody with their hand raised. You can unmute and ask a question. Can't quite tell who that is.
Okay.
Oh, it's Carol. Go ahead.
I figured it out. Well, I was asking a question about how the canyon got so deep. And I believe George answered and said it was caused by turbidity currents. Okay, where did all the mud and sand and rock go then?
So it's all sweeping out into the abyssal plain at its deepest spot. So it's all just getting carried out and then going mostly south after it gets way out to sea. But we do see piles of sediment from time to time. And we have these massive turbidity currents, which are really just huge landslides that occur sporadically. They're not tied to rainfall. They're not tied to earthquakes. There doesn't seem to be anything on land that triggers them. But what we know is that every so often our instruments in the canyon disappear. And they get buried under 3-4 feet of sediment. So just these huge landslides. So we actually developed this great instrument, because that's what MBARI does. We developed this great instrument that is designed to roll along the canyon axis as these turbidity currents start, so that we could start to collect data on how fast they move through the canyon. Because it's kind of a unique event, and nobody's ever really documented how these currents and turbidity events can carve out a canyon.
Well, the problem is it appears that there are canyons emanating from all of the major rivers that go into the bay now, like at Moss Landing and
Right. So that's very
well,
misleading because
Yeah, I guess it
where
is.
Elkhorn Slough empties right now is right at the head of the canyon where the
Uh-huh.
Monterey Harbor is. And that was carved out by the Army Corps of Engineers. Salinas River actually exits a little further south, closer
Yes.
to Monterey. And so it's not tied to the canyon at all.
Okay, I have been lying to people coming into the Seacliff Visitor Center then, because to me, it looks like a classic drowned riverbed.
Absolutely.
So are you telling-
That would have been my first impression as well.
Are you telling me that it absolutely has no relationship to the glacial ages and the rise in the seabed and
That's
a
correct.
canyon? Well, but we know that that area was dry at one time, don't we?
Not there, not at that level.
Really?
So, yeah. So this is, this is just according to Charlie Paul at Ambari. And he said that canyon was never exposed to air. Never got there.
Well, along with that, maybe a biological question. Would the nutrients, the production of food be as prolific if the canyon were half as deep? Or is there some minimum depth that you need for the production of all of that food for the animals, for the other animals?
That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that. We don't really understand. It's just such a unique set of physical oceanographic processes that occur in Monterey. So the San Diego Canyon, which I was just replying to Brian, is similar to Monterey in terms of its formation, but it's not as deep as the Monterey Canyon, and it's not as productive. But it also doesn't have this beautiful bay surrounding it, so it doesn't have the same currents. So this is just, Monterey is just a unique place. It's such a rich and productive bay.
Well, I just find it really, really hard to believe that all of that canyon disappeared by virtue of the turbidity action.
Yeah, so I will, let's see, if people are still talking, I will find a link and post it in the chat.
Excellent.
And some of those questions are getting answered. I had a question. We've been so fortunate to hear from Mbari and from the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and so fortunate to have them as neighbors here in the Monterey Bay and down the coast. But I actually wanted to check in with you, Ashley. Carol spoke to this a little bit, but what relationship do you have as an interpreter with all of the research that goes on down there? How does that influence the work that you're doing in our state parks, in a beach park when you interpret at Seacliff?
So one of the biggest things is that Seacliff is located along the Monterey Bay. And so just being in the same vicinity where there's this canyon and all of this biological diversity that's going on at Seacliff, we talk about the canyon and just the sanctuary as a whole, as well as how these ocean resources are being protected and shared this wonderful resource with all the visitors that come in.
Thanks. We are coming to the end of our time, and I just want to appreciate our speakers so deeply for spending this time with us, sharing the depth of your deep sea knowledge, but also giving us the inspiration to come soon and visit the aquarium and see all of these creatures and all of this research in operation in the aquarium. That's going to be amazing. And I'm seeing from all the comments that people are really excited about that. Ashley, it looks like you're going to have to organize a field trip for the docents. This is the first of our Docent Discovery series for 2022, and it's been a great way to end this special day of twos on 2/22/2022 this Tuesday. And so I thank you all for that. We have a couple more sessions coming up. Next time we meet will be March 22nd as well. And we're going to get to revisit Big Basin a year and a half after the fire and get insights into regrowth in the forest, working with Sky Biblin and his thesis and the plots that he's been examining to see what how redwoods and other trees are responding and what other plants are coming up today. And we also are going to get a little wildlife viewing with the story of a marbled murrelet that was seen and experienced by a group of volunteers and researchers. So you can still sign up and register for that webinar using the same link that you did before. And I just put a link into the chat because our interpreter up at Henry Cowell, Dylan McManus, has invited everybody in the district to join one of his training sessions that's coming up on March 4th. And the topic will be interpreting to different ages. And so he's been very generous in inviting us to join that webinar. And you can it doesn't look like it's underlined there, but I think you can copy and paste that or hopefully cover it and double click it. I'll put it out in a follow-up email to everybody. This session, as the others in the future, will be posted eventually on a YouTube link, and we will share that with everybody who's attended today. Any last words, Ashley?
I just want to say thank you to both Beth and George. Every time I go to the aquarium, I'm constantly inspired and was just in awe throughout this whole presentation. So I want to give a big thank you to both of you and both of your teams for all the work that you're doing to inspire ocean conservation.
Well, thank you for inviting us. And, you know, we love what we do. So we love that other people like what we do. So it's a win-win for all of us.
Right on. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here.